Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 196 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we are now a month away, Tim, from our 200th bonanza, extravaganza, whatever anza you want to put. As long as it's not
Yes.
Toady Danza, because he can't make it. But
Yeah. That's a great Elton John song, by the way.
Yeah. But we're getting close. But of course we have while it seems like it's a short time away, we have so much in between now and that, like 13 plus Puppet Master movies, right? Because we were able to get hold now of Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. So
That's
you guys
right.
are all
We
getting
found
that
it.
one, which we thought
We can't reveal our secrets of where we found that one, but
Yeah, no,
we do have that one.
Yeah, we found it. You know what? It was when you're 11th on that list of podcasts to watch, things just kind of fall into your lap like that.
That's
you know?
right. So this is kind of a weird episode because we're recording super late.
Yeah.
So this may get like minimal, if any, editing, maybe like none. So please bear with us if we make mistakes or if you hear weird things, because I usually cut out, weird background noises or us going So you might hear a lot of that. That's just a result of us having to record very quickly because I moved this week, Brian.
Yes, you did. You finally made it, Tim. After one of these days, we'll have to you'll have to go through that whole story of the one thing after another to lead this move into like what should have been a nice easy move into like
it's been an adventure, and like I was telling Brian before the podcast, we had planned on a day of movers showing up and moving everything, which ended up being 2 days, 2 full days instead of 1 half day. Partly because of our fault, because we have so much crap, and partly because of the movers' fault, because they didn't order the right size truck or enough staff. So it was kind of a disaster, which spent my 4-day weekend, which I had thinking I would be fully settled in by tonight, ended up being I'm like scrambling to get the mic and everything hooked up, and we still have a whole house full of just boxes sitting around. It's nowhere near where I wanted to be right now. But you know what? We'll get there eventually. Everything at least is here now. So now it's just a matter of taking the time to unpack.
Yeah, we don't know even if this is recording for all we know. It could not be recording. You could all be never hearing this. But, at least did you check? Did your Halloween box set make it over at least?
My DVDs, I brought those over personally. I didn't let them
I was like, Tim's
so they're
I
good.
figured you'd learn your lesson after last trauma, right?
And I unplugged my Snowball mic this time so the cable wouldn't get bent and rip the jack out of the back of it.
There you go.
So I lost my Yeti the first time.
It's a little less casualties actually to Civil Gore than in this move so far.
And apologies if it sounds a little echoey. I know when I'm talking, it sounds really echoey because I'm in my new office and it's basically an empty room at this point because I don't really have any of my stuff in here, and it's all hardwood. Like the old office was carpet, so it kind of soaked up a lot of the sound. But I sound really, really echoey in here right now to me. So apologies if that's what you're hearing.
It's like almost like a double dulcet tone.
Yeah. I'll have to figure out. I mean, there may not be anything I can do about that. So I may just be echoey dulcety from here on out.
No, you'll just have to invest in those like weird soundproof walls. How like EB has that. When he does Coaster Radio, he's got that like one wall of like soundproof. That might be all you might need.
So so expect things to be a little weird for a few weeks until I get settled in and get things back to normal. Because I'm really going to try to, this is definitely my permanent setup. We are not moving anytime soon, if ever. So I am going to really try to focus on making this a really nice podcasting, area. But right now it's just it's a little crazy. It's a little slapdash.
But you know what? Shell.
We have a really fun movie franchise to talk about, and I really enjoyed watching these first 3 movies in it. I don't know about you, Brian, but I had not seen the original Puppet Master for a little while. I mean, it hasn't been like insanely crazy. It's probably been a couple years, but I actually do not remember ever having seen Puppet Master 2 or 3, which was really surprised me because I had the DVD box set of 1 through, I think at the time the box set came out, it was probably 1 through like 6. So I was really surprised I had not seen 2 or 3, or at least not to the point that I remembered anything about them.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing. It's like I know I've seen it. Like this is one of those franchises where it's like I have a feeling where I'm just gonna randomly like see like one of the later ones and say, oh, I remember this one. And it's like I kind of the only one I really remember seeing was 1 for sure. But then I'm watching 2 and I'm like it's vaguely familiar. But then again, I realize what could have been what it is if you think of how many horror documentaries have we watched and how many like just clips have we seen over the years. So I'm wondering if like some of the movies I thought I may have seen in this franchise, I may have only seen clips from. But I will tell you that I can already say that this is going to be a rare occurrence. And it's funny because when we were talking about with the Evil Dead, and even David McHugh, our good buddy, was teasing us about how we ranked our Evil Dead franchises. But I could say already, I can guarantee you, the first Puppet Master is not going to be ranked number 1 because I already have 2 that are better than, I think, in my opinion, that I enjoyed better than the first one. And not a knock on the first one. It's just that's how they're getting better. And it's a unique thing for me that to see where the first one was such a good movie, but that they managed to pull me in even more in the subsequent sequels. So it's like it's really cool that I'm like I can't wait to watch the next one already because I feel like I'm really like getting into this groove of these things, and it's way more than I remember from the series, and it's like I think if someone coming. Like, if you just look at this series from, like, maybe just the box art, you probably just think, oh, it's just a couple of puppets running around killing people. But no, there's a lot more into the story, which I think I didn't expect going in. I don't remember going in because I know I didn't see the entire franchise. So that, to me, is one of the things that we'll definitely, when we discuss going through these movies, we'll reveal more about that. But actually, I know we don't have a traditional first chop, but we did promise that we'd talk quickly about the movie Son that is now on Shudder. It's now available. We were gracious enough to get sent a screener from this, and this was did you get to watch it, Tim? I can't remember.
I watched half of it.
Oh, you didn't get to watch it? Yeah.
No,
not
fault.
because of the movie. I'll tell you, it's not because Tim stopped,
no.
but because of the movie. It was
no fault of the movie. I literally had watched half of it the day before we found out we were going to move, essentially. And
and when
I just got completely cut off.
Yeah, and once Tim goes through the whole drama of his internet thing, you'll see why he did not get to finish it. It's amazing. Yes. In fact, we're recording tonight with what the shenanigans he went through the internet. That you almost like should save this, like jot all the notes down. Maybe for episode 200, that'll be a good story to tell. That'll be like a Tim because I'm sure we'll go through like history of Civil Gore moments, and this one kind of affected Civil Gore in a lot of ways with this.
Oh your thing. So definitely no fault of the movie. I really enjoyed the first half of what I saw, and I am definitely planning on finishing it, but it was one of those things where between the internet and the move, I literally just had no way to like sit down and take the time to watch it. But I'm very eager to hear your opinion, Brian. Yeah,
so I really liked it. Had a lot of things that I like in it, and I know why you liked it because definitely Tim's a big guy with cults. He loves cult stuff, and that's what there was a background of the cult in this movie. And I don't want to, I'm going to try and stay away from details as much as possible because it's one of those movies that really builds on, from the beginning to end to where and it would definitely do it a disservice if I gave away too much of it. But just say it's one of those movies that where it's they kind of give you some facts, and as the movie grows, you start to question what you're well, maybe this character's right, or maybe you're not quite sure who you're believing on this what side of the coin is going on through this movie. So what I will talk about, though, I will say that in terms of production value and performances. So I thought it was like a really well done movie in terms of just the ambiance it made. The gore was really good. I mean, there are some significant gore sequences in this that I don't think I expected. based off the way the movie was. I just thought it was going to kind of be a little bit more straightforward horror without, not relying on any gore, but it managed to put it in and give a great horror story going on. The performances were great. Of course, I had Emil Hirsch and Andy Met. I'm going to, you know what? I heard it say both ways. I say it's Matichak, of course, from played Alison Strode from the new Halloween reboots. And Assimilate, she was in after that. This was, she's just amazing, I think. I think she's really, it's funny, she'll grow up in her movie grandmother's footsteps, so to speak, if she keeps it up, because I think she does a great job with horror. I mean, I've only seen her in horror, so I mean, she could be great in comedy too. I'm just basing it on what I've seen of her. But in this movie, she has a big load in this one to carry, because she plays a mother. She has a lot of big backstory she's got to carry. There's there's a lot going on in this movie, and she kind of plays borderline like crazy character. I'm trying so hard, tiptoeing along, not to spoil things for you and the listeners. But she basically tiptoes amongst what she needs to do. But basically, her strong point in this is that right off the bat, no matter what's going to happen, she is going to do anything to save her son. And so there's a lot of creepy sequences in this and just going on through. So it's really, I'm probably like, people are like, what did you like about this movie? It's hard to describe without going into too many details. It's definitely one I'd love to do as a feature. Once we're done with the SLAYCATION, we go into October and stuff. That it's one definitely I'd love to do as a feature thing, just because it was, I think once you see the whole thing, Tim, you'll really enjoy it. I was like, actually when I was watching it, before I knew it was over, it moved so quick to me, like in terms of like it held my interest so strongly that I was like, I couldn't wait to see what happens next. And it kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. I had a sort of a prediction what was going to happen. I was right about part of it and wrong about the other part. So one of those movies that'll keep you guessing, which is good. And the fact that it's also one that, again, I know we've said this a lot, but this one really holds true. If you get this movie without good performances, it probably is not the same movie at all. It probably would fall flat. But since it's Andy Matichak is so good and Emil Hirsch is so good in it, that I think it really like pulls the movie together in a good way. So yeah, definitely check that out. It's now available on Shudder. When we got it, I think I watched this thing a month ago, and I felt bad because Tatum, who sent this to us, they was asking, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna review it yet?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" I said we were 3 weeks behind from when we saw it and when we could record, because we were recording episodes all out of whack. Because of SLAYCATION and Tim's scheduling. So we definitely, I said, I promise it's going to be on the next episode where we discuss it. So, but yeah, so definitely check it out. Definitely gets a high recommend. I think everyone will enjoy it that checks it out. I mean, again, you can't go wrong with these Shudder movies that they kind of bring. I mean, I know it's available on VOD first, but still, like, Shudder has a great way of just finding these gems and filling it up. I mean, I can't tell you how many movies in the past year and a half that I've seen on Shudder and that have become some of my favorite movies. So, yeah, so definitely check this one out. This one's really good. But that'll be it for our first chop. Most of the, like I said, usually in the SLAYCATIONs, we don't do the first chop because there's so much to cover. But I felt I had to do that because that was actually owed from a couple of episodes ago. So,
well, I'm looking forward to getting the home theater set up, because I'm gonna make a legit home theater in the new house. And I'm in consultation right now about getting the TV put in there and everything. It's going to be a while. It's probably going to be a couple months before I have it all complete. But one of the things I'm really looking forward to is getting back to actually having the time to just sit there and watch a movie on like a big screen again with the surround sound. Because when we were in the rental, I couldn't set all that stuff up. It's not our house, and I just don't have the capacity to do that. I had a little bit of version of that in my old house, but it was never, it was never like a big budget home theater. It was always kind of cobbled together. And this is the first chance I'll ever have to really put together the home theater experience that I really want. And I cannot wait. I've been saving a lot of my Blu-ray, like my box sets and stuff. I've been saving them just to be able to experience them in the new house that way. Now, unfortunately, the Puppet Master, we couldn't cover that late enough to that I could watch it on the big screen, but I'll probably revisit it once I get the legit home theater set up. But,
and remember, Tim, what I sent you. I sent you that package which contains a copy of Paul Blart 2 for your first debut of the.
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
Because it's got to
in
be
4K. I
2.
hope. If it's not 4K, I'm throwing it out.
No, it is. It's actually a rare European import 8K version of Paul Blart 2.
I want to see his mustache in beautiful 4K.
You can, not only do you see individual strands.
Okay, good.
Fluttering, like it's almost like this 3D effect that will blow your mind. It's like you're gonna want to just keep watching that sequence over on the close up of his mustache.
We probably still owe some of our listeners a copy of Paul Blart.
I think we do. Cody said that, right? Because Cody, by the way, little side note, Cody, of course, as you know, we've mentioned her many a times as she has become not only as our intern but a very good friend, and she has done so many like little side projects for us. I mean,
that you guys don't even realize that.
Yeah,
she's
you have
done.
no clue some of the content because we don't even get to mention all of it. But she's actually going through archiving all our old episodes and making a list of all our beer pairings. And it's funny. So as she's going through them, she's like messaging us and saying, "Oh my God, do you remember this? Do you remember that?" And she's almost like a time machine. She's going through of Civil Gore, and it's so fun. And she said, "Hey, whatever happened to your contest that we had?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's right." I know we sent some stuff like the horror challenge winners got their stuff.
Yes,
I know we
did
sent
the
out
horror night
packages
winners.
for that, but yeah, we were supposed to do. If you sent a review in, you could get in a review, and that was always a joke that you're going to get a copy of Paul Blart 2. So yeah, I need to
maybe that's why we never got that many reviews.
That's probably what it is. I think that maybe we'll have to sweeten the pot a little and like give you also Paul Blart 1 with it. But no. But yeah, no, we should do that. And we actually, Tim had some great ideas for if we ever do a Patreon. Don't panic. We're not there yet. But if we do decide to do a Patreon, Tim came up with a great perk for some of them. I mean, it's something I'd like to plan anyway, just to have. I mean, we don't try it. We definitely do not want to, our goal was never to make money off of the show. It was all for fun. But obviously, a Patreon eventually could help us get some cool stuff for the show, like content, like bring us to more trips or something, to horror cons and stuff.
Or at least at the very least just cover the cost of the
podcast. I mean that would be my happiest. And we have minimal costs, I have to say. I mean, in terms of, but it would be good to maybe upgrade, get one of those those roadcasters or something, to have like that, just like some minimal stuff just to improve it more than anything. But I don't see us doing Patreon anytime soon. Although I know it's such a great thing for podcasters because it really does help cover a lot of stuff. I mean, and I don't know how much we'd get anyway. We'd probably barely get the minimum anyway. It'd be more fun. I think it'd be just fun for us to come up with the perks more. That's what I'm more excited about. I don't even care if we get anything out of it. It would be just more fun to come up with the perks and come up with the funny,
we just create a page and we'll just make perks and we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, see what happens. If anyone
but not anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely not Timmy. We have way more things ahead. They want to get the website finished finally, get some more merch. Because again, Cody had came up with so many great shirt ideas for us to do and came up with some preliminary designs even and stuff. So you really have no idea the help she's done for this show, behind the scenes. So hopefully we'll get that stuff ahead of a Patreon. We definitely want to get more merch out there. I did add a bunch of stuff to the types of shirts, same logo and everything, but I realized there were so many things, variations of the shirts I just never selected and activated on our site. So now there's a lot more, especially in the female options. There's way more shirts and stuff there now.
Yeah, I got to get my order in for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, same here. I figured because sometimes the certain things could take up to 2 to 3 weeks. So I think I'm going to make my deadline is the first week of, I already picked the stuff out. I may just order it next week. So that way I can set it. So then you could do your order and it won't mess it up.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and make a promise that we will definitely deliver on our promise of, the review contest. So this is your final warning to get your reviews in on iTunes. Leave us a review, leave us a comment if you can. So we got your username, and then we will do a random draw of all of our reviewers, even the ones that did it in the past. We won't leave anybody out. So if you leave us a review on iTunes, which I know is a little bit of a pain, but if you can do that between now and what you want to say, just our 200th, Brian?
Yeah.
Gives them everybody a month.
Good.
So yeah, between now and our 200th episode, which gives you about 4 weeks, by the time you're listening to this, we will enter you into a drawing, and we will send you a really nice Blu-ray of some sort.
Yeah, it will not be Paul Blart 2. We joke.
It will not be Paul Blart 2. We may put Paul Blart 2 in there with it. We don't know.
Yeah, you may get stuck with Paul Blart 2, but there definitely will be like a there'll be something worth the meat of the prize. So.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna make good on our promise. Thanks, Cody, for keeping us honest.
Yes, I think probably and watch Cody win too. I think that's why she knew she's gonna win the raffle.
That's right. She's gonna put in like 30 reviews.
Yeah. And anyway, Cody, we're gonna send you out some stuff anyway by the this year. Regardless, we're gonna get some get you some kind of special thing for all the extra stuff you do. I know, and she's so modest about it too. She's like, "Oh, it's nothing, but no, it does mean a lot." You know, of course, the friendship a lot of work. We have though. The friendship we have with Cody is the most important, of course. But
I've tried doing like archiving of I've tried to help my Coaster Radio out. Remember when we had the Coaster Radio wiki at one point?
Oh my God, yeah, we were doing that. That is a pain.
It was a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I would love to go back and be able to timestamp and everything, but it's a tremendous amount of work. I mean, just doing the podcast alone takes hours and hours and hours, and then you try to like do a website on top of that, and that, and the other. Yeah, so anything Cody does is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and she and the funny thing is like that. She's got the suffering she has to do of listening to us now a second time through.
Imagine it's bad enough trying to do a good podcast.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to do ours. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh boy.
She'll just be a glutton for punishment.
But thank you again, Cody. We need to give you lots of credit. But we'll stop embarrassing her now because I know she's in the future blushing as she listens to this. Yeah. Let's move on to a franchise, Tim, that I think was. I feel now that we're doing it, feel long overdue. I'm seeing what we were missing this whole time by not doing it.
What's weird about this franchise is I remember seeing the first Puppet Master. I don't remember where though. It's probably something I rented back in the day. It came out in '89, so I probably rented it sometime shortly thereafter when it came out on VHS, and probably didn't think much about it. But it's weird. I can't remember watching individual Puppet Master movies, but I've always felt like a real sense of fandom about this franchise, even though I haven't seen all of them. It's the weirdest thing. I was sitting there trying to think about, like, why do I love this franchise so much when I can't even tell you which movies I've seen out of it. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. And, it's one thing to say, yeah, I'm a big fan of Friday the 13th because you've seen all of them. You've seen them multiple times. And here's this franchise I'm a huge fan of. I consider it a quote-unquote guilty pleasure. I had the toys. I had the full DVD box set when that came out. As soon as I could get my hands on the Blu-rays, I ordered that box set. And yet here I am. I can't name you which movies I saw, what order I saw them in, where the first time I saw them was. I don't know. I think I just love the character so much, the puppets, that has like overrode anything about the individual films. I'm just a fan of the whole concept more than anything.
Yeah, and I think it's you've seen like I said, we've seen horror documentaries, magazines, all these things, the imagery of it, I think has probably just found its way into our brains because I feel the same way, and I'm realizing I'm like, I don't even remember which ones I've seen out of these either, but it's a franchise that I liked, and it was like a no-brainer to me to do that. Do that great full moon thing where you get the Blu-ray box set, which is like, to me, is like one of the best deals in horror out there right now for any kind of thing. You get the great streaming service along with that. And actually, that's the best part is like, not only do you get, if you sign up for a year, you pay $60, right? You get the streaming service for the year, which contains all the Puppet Masters digitally, and you get the Blu-ray. Which actually, and I realized I saw the fourth one in our set is actually the full uncut version. So it's like we're not getting like just chintzy like bare bones Blu-rays in this box set. There's some good features and commentaries, which I want to go back through and watch. It comes with that little booklet, so it's like for $60, what you get a year and what you now own for a lifetime is amazing. You basically, I mean, yes, you have to buy a couple of extra because when this box set came out, the 3 movies came since. But still, it's like there's a lot like this series, and then there's another one in the works, like that Blade movie, which is becoming one of my favorite characters. Although I don't know if he's my favorite of the puppets yet. I haven't decided yet. I think that we should almost do that, Tim. At the end, not only should we rank the series, but let's rank the character puppets, the puppets.
Ooh, I can definitely. Yeah, I was going to talk about Blade, but I'll save it. If we're going to do
no, don't get me wrong. I love Blade. He's cool, yeah. But it's like there's some, I don't know which there's right now. I'm pretty fond of 6-Shooter. I kind of like him, but we'll go through all that. I think that's what we need to do. We need to rank the puppets and rank the movies at the end.
That was my 6-Shooter laugh.
Oh yeah, no, that was good.
He always has this sinister laugh.
I also kind of like that one. I always forget what Jester, right? The one that spins around and like has the
I love
freezes
Jester.
on the other image. Yeah.
Yes, I love Jester. We'll talk about the puppets as we go through these because we know which. There's a great wiki out there. It'll tell you which puppets are in which movies.
Yeah.
And there's like a big Puppet Master fan base, so you can find tons on the internet about every character in the Puppet Master series. But let's turn our attention to 1989's Puppet Master, directed by David Schmoller. Starring a big cast here, we have Paul Le Mat as Alex Whitaker, the fantastic, I love William Hickey as Andre Toulon.
Tim, the blessing.
You want it? You got it. Toyota.
Three guys from Greece, authentic Greek food. Yes, and of course.
What was that movie? I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, Forget Paris.
Forget Paris. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Oh my God. That William Hickey he's so funny. He's in movies like for brief sequences, right? Like parts of the movie. I mean, Christmas Vacation, I think, was one of his biggest ones, and like I've seen him in. But like even like My Blue Heaven, when he comes in, he just has these lines that like when he goes, "You're not alone." It's just like in like because My Blue Heaven's been on cable a lot lately, which is one of my favorite, most underrated, I think, Steve Martin movies.
Oh, it's a great movie. Yeah.
Which so in like William Hickey, like it's so funny whenever he comes in, he like steals the scene. And of course, Forget Paris. If you have not seen it, you want to see comedic genius, and the way Billy Crystal reacts to it, it's like got to be one of the most. And there's like multiple sequences of it, which is what's great.
That's due for a rewatch because When Harry Met Sally is one of my favorite movies of all time, and Forget Paris was kind of a spiritual successor to Forget Paris. Forget Paris was kind of a spiritual successor to When Harry Met Sally. And so I really loved it when it came out.
And I have to say, going back a couple episodes, another one I forgot, a line I always quote from Forget Paris. So this is David McHugh's fault, by the way, for everyone, that we're going to keep going back to that episode with that question, that fan topic food. But one of the lines in there is like, from Mark and I always do this when we'll sit there, like if we're at a restaurant and they bring us the bread, they said, "Here, have some bread. Everything's better after bread." Because that's the line that what Paul Mazur says in it. And so it's like they say that line in there, and that obviously all the William Hickey stuff from that movie. But yeah, that's another very, very quotable movie. But let's get back. Again, what is with this summer Slaycation where all roads lead to Billy Crystal?
I know.
It's very bizarre.
It really is.
This has got to be our strangest summer Slaycation yet, I have to say.
And he hasn't even done anything lately, really. So it's like, why is everything leading back to him? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I don't
blame
know.
William Hickey for that. I wish, it'd be.
Hello? Yeah, no, I don't know what he's, yeah.
It would have been great if William Hickey had been able to play Toulon in like all of the movies.
Yeah, although I do like the actor that played him in 3, and he plays him in I think 3, 4, I think at least 5. I think
3, 4, and 5. Yeah, he's actually really, really good.
Yeah, I like him
as Guy Roth.
Yeah, we'll get to him too.
Okay, so here we go. Irene Miracle as Dana Hadley, Jimmy F. Skaggs as Neil Gallagher, Robin Freites as Megan Gallagher, Matt Rowe as Frank Forrester, Catherine O'Reilly as Carissa Stamford, Muse Small as Teresa, Barbara Crampton as the woman at the carnival.
I had to include her, even though it's such a bit part.
Oh, yeah.
To get included.
David Boyd as the man at the carnival. Ed Cook as Pinhead. Not that Pinhead.
Yeah,
the other
not
Pinhead.
that one.
Linda Cook as Leechwoman. Tim Dornberg as Tunneler, who's also a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Bert Rosario as Blade and Michael Lade as Jester. Psychics find themselves plotted against by a former colleague who committed suicide after discovering animated murderous puppets.
By the way, I think, too, really quick, Pinhead, I think if you have a character named Pinhead, you automatically have to go to like 10 movies. That must be the rule.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Pinhead's and he's in like almost all of them.
Yeah. I like it. He's so like I feel bad for him though. I always feel like he gets like a bad rap, but he's kind of a fun little character. Well, not little, but you know what I mean.
I like that he's a puppet, but he has human hands.
Human hands, yeah, and he's like got this big sweater, like he's got like the most normal looking clothes out of everybody. You know, it's like
he gets cold easily. He
does. He has like that Matt Damon sweater from like Rounder, but it's like, and he's got like this sweater, and he's got this tiny little head out of this giant body. He's like, he's great. You know what it is? They did such a good job because the puppets are so varied in this. Like, there's not one like really normal looking puppet in this thing. I mean, maybe you want to say Leech Woman, but really not a normal puppet. You know, it's like they're all like, so
I mean, I don't even know how normal that is because injecting leeches out of your mouth. I was actually thinking about that today when I was watching Puppet Master 3. Is the puppets themselves are just so unique. It's like every puppet in this could almost carry their own movie. That's how strong they are, and it would have been so easy for this franchise to use like normal, ventriloquist type puppets or some, generic killer puppet thing. And yet they made such an interesting backstory. I think that's why another reason I love this franchise so much, even though I'm kind of, it's like spotty on which ones I've watched and in what order, there's behind the scenes, there's a deep love for this whole story that kind of flows through the whole franchise. Yeah. And the thing I was watching about Puppet Master, the original Puppet Master in particular, as I was rewatching it, I was like, this is such a cool concept. They could have just had these normal people happen to be at a hotel where Toulon had stashed these puppets, and then they just start killing them. But they go a step further, and they make it where it's these psychics that are at the hotel because they've had these visions about this other psychic that they know that, and they feel drawn to this. I mean, there's this whole layer of other story that could possibly be a movie by itself without the puppets.
Right, and that's what I was saying earlier, because the franchise, if you look at it just based off of what you think it is, like by maybe the box art and stuff like that and the titles or something, I think you're missing a lot. There's a lot of good stories that the puppets are can be almost like a side step to, it's like they're in there, but at least the story's good too. And I think and that right there could be what makes this series so good. And as the story builds, the movies are getting better, and the puppets are kind of just going along for it, and they're interjected properly into a story, And I think that's what it is. It's like they don't make, like, even though the puppets are key, it's not really the full heart of the story. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
it reminds me of
so good.
This is a weird comparison, but for some reason, there's something about the psychic angle that reminds me of some of my really favorite horror authors, like Dan Simmons and Clive Barker. They do books that are so Dan Simmons does he does like sci-fi, historical. He does a lot of different genres, but his horror in particular, I remember he did one, and it reminded me a lot of the Puppet Master series. It's called oh my gosh, Carrion Comfort, I think. And it was about these psychics, and it had Nazi Germany in it and everything. So that's why it kind of reminded me of Puppet Master when I read it, and vice versa. But it's when you have it's almost like you have two parallel stories going along that keep intersecting. And I just love that. I love when it's not so two-dimensional, that there's this third dimension sitting kind of on top of it. And with the Puppet Master series, like in the first one, you get all this psychic thing. The second one, as we'll talk about, you kind of get a little bit more of that, but you also get more of the puppets fleshed out. And then the third one, you're going completely into a prequel mode, and you're getting into a lot of this history type lesson stuff. So there's always something going on around the puppets that is just as interesting to me as the puppet stuff.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, and that could have been, if that wasn't done, I mean, the franchise would be so different, and that's a mistake. I think that, granted, I don't know how the later sequels pan out. I hope this trend continues. But I think that could be an easy mistake to make, that if you just make you make it 100% about the puppets, I don't think you'd have the longevity of this series. Because how many times can you see puppets, go do something if you don't have a side story to it, or you don't have a different cause or reason for them to be where they are. And I think what's interesting too is a lot of other characters come in and out of it that kind of play to that factor. But as the sequels go on, but this one is interesting. First of all, I have to say, tell me, did Paul Le Mat doesn't he like? Did he say when I grow up I want to be Jeff Fahey? Doesn't he look like Jeff, I kept thinking, I'm I don't remember Jeff Fahey being in this, and I realized no, that's not him. That's Paul Le Mat. But yeah, no, and it's this one is so interesting because that whole psychic angle to it, if you think about the puppets are kind of a small piece to this one, and it's they're trying so hard to to get this story. This is an interesting way to start the franchise. And I think maybe that's why I like the second ones because it's the second and third one a little more, because the first one opens it up kind of it's not the origin story you'd expect for a big franchise like this. I think almost the third movie seems to be more of the origin story, which is, and when you do that, that kind of, a lot of horror franchises don't do that, as you know. Most horror franchises, like Friday the 13th, obviously you started with the first one and then you just keep continuing the storyline. Same with Halloween. You kind of go forward. Rarely do those kind of franchises, these big horror franchises, go back. Paranormal Activity, I know, flips all over the place. But these kind of movies, they don't usually take a step backwards like this in terms of the origin story. Usually the origin story in these horror franchises is pretty much the first movie. And so I think that's what made this one so unique, because as good as the first one was, I felt like you got a little more in 2, and then the third one is where you go back to the full origin story of how, you really see what Toulon did and where these whole puppet things. There's the couple of brief moments, explaining it in the first 2, but I think the third one is the true origin story that if you flopped it, if you watched it in chronological order, and let's say you put that one first. I know there's Retro Puppet Master, and I've seen that one. I just forgot. Now I'm interested to see it again now that I know more of the storyline. But if you watched it in chronologically, you technically should watch 3, 1, 2. So I'm wondering how, if you watch it in that order, if it would be any different. But I don't know. Then I guess it
almost makes me wonder if not if they. And I have no evidence to back this up. I don't know the actual origin. Somebody probably does. If you watch the commentaries or something, maybe you do. But it almost makes me think that this was one of those movies like Charles Band decided, let's just see if this takes off. This is we're going to make this movie about these puppets, but also these psychics. And he was just making a movie. And then based off the success and everybody loved the puppets, that's when they made Puppet Master 2. And they put more puppets in. And then the success of that spawns 3, which they have to go in and fill the backstory in. It kind of organically grows. If you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense that
right.
They never knew the success of this franchise when they made the first film, so that focus was not necessarily there on the puppets. And in fact, in the trivia, it even says that they were on screen less than 5 minutes in the movie. And
it did not seem like that. It really did not seem like.
Well, they did a lot of POV shots too that I think probably don't count as on-screen time, but.
Oh right, yeah, I guess, yeah, and that's I guess it's edited in such a good way, story-wise, that you almost don't, it kind of include that in your head as them being in it, but they're not really in it.
Now, I will say I had a little bit of I won't say disappointment. I had a little bit of a criticism of this movie when I watched it back, because being the first film in the series, I was like you going in. I was expecting it to be the best in the series, and as I was watching it, I started finding myself getting a little bored, and I realized it was because there's not such a big focus on the puppets in this one. There is a little bit at the beginning when Blade enters the hotel or whatever, but there's a long section of the front half of the movie where there really is no puppet action at all.
Right.
And I thought the film really kind of dragged at that point. You start off with kind of a bang with Toulon, and bang literally with Toulon and the puppets, and And then you kind of go to this lull. I mean, the psychic stuff was semi-interesting, but as they kind of get settled in the hotel and stuff before the puppets really start coming back out and committing murder, it gets kind of slow. I thought it dragged quite a bit in there, which you don't see in the second and third films. They truly corrected that, and that's why I think you'll see our rankings reflect that. But I was a little, disappointed, but that the lack of puppets in Puppet Master. Now I was that corrected itself later on, but I can see why people don't necessarily rank this one as high as some of the sequels, because it does have that kind of slower pace, and it's not like a slow burn pace like I love. Where it's building. It's really more of a slow pace where the climactic stuff at the end in the third act is kind of what you would expect. So it's not like all that second act stuff really helped, punch that third act up. It's still pretty much by the numbers. So it just, I don't know, it kind of dragged for me.
Yeah, I think, and also I still like the first one. But I think, there was what I think, why it's not I can already say it's not going to be my number one ranked is because of kind of some of the things what you said. It's like, I expect it. While I know it sounds like I'm contradicting what I said earlier, but I'm trying to explain this the way it is, I definitely like the other storylines that, that were going on along with the puppets in it. But I think it was almost like, I expected at least the puppets to make a stronger debut. And I think that's what was missing. Not that I didn't like the psychic story angle. Yes, and it did, it was a little bit slower paced, because, you didn't go in. And I think the problem was, I think I was waiting for, this puppet massacre in my head, because I didn't remember the first one, and I think I probably, because I've seen some of the other ones. So I'm probably, thinking back, I probably have a couple mixed into my head over the so I was like, I for some reason I thought this one just had more stuff in it. Maybe it was the second one I had seen more of back in the day, and I just didn't realize it was the second one. It's like one of those kind of things. But yeah, no, and so it's I think maybe that's the only reason why. And I think what I expected more out of the movies, I was getting in the second and third one more. So yeah, but and it's funny because there was not to the I thought the cast was really good in it. I don't think there was any bad portrayal of anything in the first one. Of course, the great William Hickey is the first, one of the first sequences. But I love that, I love that, just that whole thing with the how the jester spins around, and and William Hickey's talking to them, and he's just like, oh, they're coming, or it's just and you're like, oh, it's got to get a really strong start, and then I think that after the strong start, there's this whole gap of where that doesn't live up to the strong start. And
there's a gap where there's really no puppet action, and it's a lot of the psychic stuff and a lot of talking, and frankly, you watch a Puppet Master movie to watch the puppets, and when you kind of go back after all these years of being familiar with these puppets, you go back and watch the first one and realize they're not really in it that much. I think that's where you get that kind of drag. Now, if I'd watched this before I even knew what Puppet Master was, I probably would have been intrigued the entire time, but I was, still waiting to see Blade slice somebody up or something. So, but, speaking of that, let's get to Puppet Master 2, because Puppet Master 2 came out the following year, 1990. It was directed by David Allen, so you got a new director. It stars Elizabeth McClellan as Carolyn Bramwell / Elsa, Colin Burnson as Michael Kinney, Steve Wells as Andre Toulon, and Erika Cheney, Greg Webb as Patrick Bramwell, Charlie Spradling as Wanda, Jeff Celentano as Lance, Nita Talbot as Camille, Sage Allen as Martha, George Buck Flower as Matthew, Sean Vertigo as Billy, Ivan J. Rado as the Cairo Merchant, Michael Todd as Puppet Toulon, and Julianne Mazziotti as Puppet Camille / Elsa. The puppets return and hunt paranormal researchers in an attempt to take their brain fluid for their master, Andre Toulon. And this one, I'll have to say, it started off a little slow for me. It kind of starts off very similar to the first film, because you have, instead of psychics now descending upon the hotel, you have these paranormal researchers. But it was kind of a neat tie-in to the first movie, because they're trying to investigate kind of what happened at the end of the first film. So I liked how that tied in. But it started off
right. It like took off from at least that, you know. It's
so it started off a little bit. And I'm not talking about the puppets resurrecting Toulon, which was a cool scene, but it started off. I'm like, I was watching. I'm going, is this just gonna be like kind of a rehash? And then we're kind of getting this slow sequence. But no, things really light up when Toulon comes on the scene. So the puppets have resurrected him. And he becomes one of the coolest characters I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Yeah.
He's completely bandaged up like the Invisible Man. And that's an obvious influence. The Invisible Man's obvious influence. I mean, he looks almost identical. He's got the same like weird goggle glasses and he's completely bandaged and he has like this weird
he still
hole
smokes
for his
though,
mouth.
which is great.
Yeah.
He smokes through his little hole that he's got.
Yeah, he got that weird hole mouth. But he is such a great character. He's creepy. He's his mannerisms and everything are really spot on. And when he comes on the scene, like the whole movie changed for me, and I just absolutely loved it from there on out. And then on top of that,
he just appears, which is kind of funny. The way he walks in, he just like, "Hello, this is my hotel now."
Yeah, like the puppets have resurrected him, but you're kind of waiting for him to make his appearance, and then all of a sudden he's there.
Well, I meant from like as the characters see him.
Yeah,
he's like we see the audience sees him. Get resurrected, but like the way he appears into the other characters is kind of funny.
And the reaction is hilarious too, because they're like, who the heck is this guy? Like dressed like the Invisible Man. But the whole movie just takes off at that point, and it's not just Toulon, but you get backstory because he starts talking. He starts reminiscing about his past, and you get a lot more puppet action. A lot more. This movie like doubles down on the puppets. For all that you missed in the first one, this one like adds extra.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, so you got to think in the first movie, we only get a little bit of Toulon, but he's kind of like this, he's William Hickey, so he's kind of, you're endeared towards him a little, really. You're kind of like, oh, you feel bad. He gets shot in the beginning of the movie, and he loses his puppet, kind of this whole thing. But now you see a different side of him, you're kind of like, oh, he's like a creepy dude now, it's like, wait a minute, what is this character all about now? And and it literally to me the funny thing is like you got this guy, like this total creepy guy walking around with the bandages, acting like he doesn't have it. He's walking like a big game, like he's like like Clark Gable, like walking around. And he's just having these conversations with people with like, it's like, don't look at my mask, it's like, like it's like, as an audience, I'm like, this is so weird. This is so unnerving. And I loved every second of it. That's what was so cool. It was very unnerving sequences when he was in there.
Yeah. And I'm so interested to see the other films in the series now that I'm invested now in the story more than I was just knowing about the puppets. Now I'm interested in Toulon because he's the driving force behind all of this. So the first movie, like you said, we got William Hickey, so you're kind of endeared to him, and you only see him for a brief moment of time, and you think of, he's a puppet guy, like he's got to be a good guy. And then the second one, he's really such a bastard that the puppets themselves turn on him at the end of the film, which was completely shocking to me. And then when we'll get to it in a minute, but when we get to Puppet Master 3, he's back to being super endearing again because you get to see him in his early years. So I'm really conflicted as to who this character is and how does he change. And at the end of this franchise, am I going to hate Toulon or am I going to still be sort of endeared to him? I don't know. Like, was the resurrection what caused him to be such a bastard, or was he always kind of that way? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
it's really crazy.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the time period, like, because jumping ahead a little bit, like into 3, real quick. I mean, we'll go back to 2, but like in 3, it's like you can see why, even if he turns out to be like this horrible guy going through the franchise later on, which we see obviously at some point he's kind of like this guy, but you kind of can you see what happens to him in 3, and we'll get to that in a second, where it's like it's almost like that supervillain origin story, where like they're a normal guy, maybe they and they're trying to do something and something happens to them, and like it just alters them. And we'll touch on it in a little bit, but so it's like, so when you're watching this, you're like, oh my God, so this William Hickey guy, William Hickey's character in the first one, even though we got a brief bit and I felt bad for him, now look at this dude. He's like all like, he's evil and he's creepy, and and the puppets, which were like his babies, it looked like in the first one, for the brief minute you saw them together, literally turn on him, and it's like, that was something I didn't expect. Because, you're like, especially a movie entitled Puppet Master, okay, William Hickey, Toulon, he's the puppet master. Why were they against him, And it's like interesting. Like, and I'm wondering if because 2 was so good that they said, all right, let's go back. Now let's go back and like, let's see why he was the way he is for, the audience, deserves now to know and see this. So we're going to go back, kind of thing. And it's a good way to, sometimes the best way to extend the series is to go back. With a prequel, and and so, but in the second one, and there's some creepy sequences in this second one.
Oh man, like the life-size mannequins at the end are just some of the best creepy mannequins I've ever seen on film. It's just really, really well done.
Yeah, because like they move, but they don't move, and their teeth are weird.
Their eyes are like static. It reminded me a lot of Tourist Trap.
Yes, that's exactly, yes.
Yeah, very
exactly
Tourist Trappy.
What it reminded me of.
So this one had checked all the boxes for me. You have more puppets, you have better kills, you have a really intriguing story. Toulon is just an excellent character all around. I mean, an excellent horror villain. Probably one of the most underrated, I would say, would be Toulon in Puppet Master 2. Underrated horror villains of all time. He is fantastic in this. He's arrogant. He's creepy. He's I don't know. It's just a very well done character. So kudos to who played him in Steve Wells. Kudos to Steve Wells' performance in this, because he does a fantastic job in this.
Yeah, and you know what you get in this? You get a really extended stalking kill sequence with the couple, like in the farmhouse. Where like.
And let's not forget. Freaking Torch kills a kid with a flamethrower in this movie.
Oh yeah, because the kid's like, that's true. I forgot about that. That's like
a child.
That's a no in horror. You don't kill the kids. And
I mean, it was implied, but it was still,
it wasn't like on screen. But
my jaw dropped when that happened. I was like, oh my gosh.
But, that was, and it's funny too, because it had that like, it also had I think it had a better mix of like. To me, a better mix of characters that were in there aside the puppets. Not that the first group of psychics were bad, but this one I think it had a lot more interesting things. It had like the characters were more like I had the one the psychic lady that came. What was her name? The one that arrived. Later, like the second, you remember she got lost first.
Yes,
and she was the one that was so when she came, she was kind of wacky and zany, and you didn't even quite know, but she was kind of like a badass at the same time.
Yeah, so they were like, a little more three-dimensional. The first Puppet Master, the psychics were, I mean, you can't fault any of the performances. They were good. I just thought the characters were a little bit one note. They were just all kind of stereotypical. Whatever, where this Puppet Master 2, like everybody just seems a little more fleshed out for some reason. But yeah, the other thing too I forgot to mention is when we were talking about the puppets turning on Toulon, is I do know throughout the franchise the puppets switch around a lot between good and evil, and we'll see that with especially as the later films, like the more recent films, they tried to go back to the puppets being like truly evil, but they kind of switch allegiances throughout, because I remember, and I don't know which one it is, but I remember watching it on my old DVD box set where they're like complete good guys. It might be the next one.
That's 4, because remember at the end of 3, it says when bad puppets go good.
Yeah, so
it's a coming soon puppet. The last thing at the end credits is Puppet Master 4 coming soon when bad puppets go good. So I'm really excited to see the 4th one.
Yeah. Now, if it's the one I remember, I'm not excited to see it because it was terrible, but we'll see.
Oh, it's bad?
It was really bad. But
well, heads up, there's nothing worse than Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys. I can't imagine it being worse. And that has Corey Feldman in it, so you would expect it should be good, but
oh, I can't wait.
It was, oh my God. Oh my God, this one, and it was a sci-fi original, and it's kind of like not in the canon, anyway. But we'll discuss that when it comes into its place, because technically it's supposed to take place after Curse of the Puppet. It is so disjointed. It almost reminds me of like a network television holiday special.
Oh my gosh,
with
really?
Puppet Master characters in it. That's how
Wow.
it's like. Yeah, it is. I cannot wait till you see it, just to talk about it. That's why we have to talk about it, because it's so obscurely bad.
Well, okay, so Puppet Master 2, fantastic. So Puppet Master
Yes.
1 is good. Puppet Master 2 is amazing. I loved it. Now, let's turn our attention to Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge. This one came out.
Oh wait, before we go on to 3, can I just say one funny sequence in part 2 that cracked me up is when
Sure.
when the Toulon and the mask and everything, he goes, "May I cut in?" and he just walks in and decides to dance with the the girl. I'm like, it's so creepy, and he just barges in. I'm like, but scenes like that are like so like fluttered all over this movie that makes it so great. And right when it's like when Tim said it, he texted me. He said, Puppet Master 2 is better than 1, and I'm like, I agreed 100%. Like, I already guarantee you, I'm ranking, if I had just the 2 now, it'd be number 2, and then number 1. But that changes now yet again with, I think, 3 for me. So
Yes, Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge. This was 1991. Another new director here. We have David Decoteau. Guy Rolfe plays Andre Toulon. He would go on to play Toulon in, I believe, 3, 4, and 5, I think, is where his run ended. But Richard Lynch as Major Kraus. Richard Lynch, is he's kind of the poor man's Klaus Kinski, would you say?
Yes. I would say so.
But
because there's only one Klaus Kinski, so.
But I don't say that like a derogatory way, because he's fantastic in this.
Oh yeah, no, he's really good.
Ian Abercrombie as Dr. Hess. And
what is with this SLAYCATION? There's so many repetitive things. Like, once again, a third movie in the series, Ian Abercrombie come in. He's like,
can I just say,
comes in 7.
This is a spoiler alert, but knowing that Blade has the soul of Ian Abercrombie is kind of disturbing me.
Yeah, oh, really? So you don't like that he's Mr. Pitt? So you're worried that Blade is going to want to try on socks over and over?
I just found out Blade is Mr. Pitt.
Yeah.
I saw that in the wiki today, and it was like, Blade has the soul of Ian Abercrombie, Dr. Hess, in the movie, and I'm like, wait a minute, but Blade's such a badass, like, he can't have the soul of Mr. Pitt's in him. I don't know. My brain's having a hard time wrapping my.
But Mr. Pitt in this, though, was a very, very interesting character. Like, I think he's kind of like forced into doing a lot of things he didn't want to do, and he's kind of heroic in a way. So I mean,
and it's not necessarily like their personality; it's just their soul. Like, is in there. It's not like a complete. It's not like he's inhabiting the body of Blade. It's more like his essence.
No, but yeah, and if you think about it, his soul inherently was like he was doing some kind of evil things, but in his mind, it was he was more fascinated with the science of it. So if Blade continues to have that kind of soul about him, where he kind of does things what he believes is right for a reason, then he's a very interesting character for a puppet. I mean,
right? True.
It's like,
yeah. So Ian Abercrombie as Dr. Hess, Christopher Logan as Lieutenant Eric Stein, Aaron Eisenberg as Peter Hertz, Walter Gotell as General Mueller, Sarah Douglas as Elsa Toulon.
I love Sarah Douglas. She was so good in this. She was only in it for a brief period of time, but oh my God, she's
very
so great
good
in everything.
Yeah. Matthew Faison as Hertz and Michelle Bauer as Lily. A puppeteer's ability to bring inanimate objects to life attracts the attention of the Nazis during World War II. And this is Full Moon doing a straight up historical puppet master. I mean, takes place entirely in the 40s, early 40s. And this one, there is a bit of a retcon going on here, because I believe this film takes place in 1941. And in the original Puppet Master, we see Toulon commit suicide in 39. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy.
Oh, did they actually say?
Chronology.
I didn't realize that was 39. And
yeah, I read that in the wiki. So there is a little bit of a mistake there.
Yeah, but a lot of people. Yeah, I saw some people mention that. I forgot what I read about it, about the dates. But I think it's like, I don't know. I mean, that's, in all honesty, it's like you don't really. I don't think anyone's gonna. You don't think twice about it. I mean, I think they did it more for the storyline, which is better anyway. But who knows? Maybe they explain it later on in a film how that time.
Yeah, we're taking these as they go, so we may find out something later that completely changes what we're talking about today. But this one, I really, really like this one. This one is, again, they really doubled down on the puppets. And then you have the introduction of Six Shooter, who is one of my favorites because I had the action figure of Six Shooter. When
I love him because he has like real guns.
Yeah, well, when Puppet Master,
it's like this
the
little puppet's
Puppet
got real
Master
guns.
Action figures came out. I used to have all the ones that they had released. I believe they definitely had Blade, definitely had Six Shooter. Unfortunately, I got rid of them back in my great purge when I got married, and I didn't have the room for these little action figures everywhere that I had hanging up in my wall. So
Plus, they didn't move around by themselves like they did in the movie, so Tim was disappointed.
So I ended up, that's one of my biggest regrets. I still wish I had all those, but I ended up just, getting rid of all of them. And
well, those new NECA ones look fantastic. So
those I'm going to get. Yeah, those
I'm going to buy those
to
myself.
Because, I got rid of my old ones. I deserve brand new ones, and those look amazing. They look way better than the old action figure ones. So, yeah, so you get Six Shooter. You get the origins of Leech Woman, which I thought was really cool. You get to see how she was created. You get there's a lot of origin stories here because you kind of find out how you don't really get to see. You get to see how Blade was created, and you get to kind of hear about how the other ones all have some relation to Toulon's real life friends. So Pinhead and Tunneler, those were all like people he knew in real life that he basically captured their life essence into the puppets, which I thought was kind of a cool story. You learn more about it in the wiki, and I'm guessing later films kind of add little bits and pieces to the mythos that maybe you don't get to entirely see in the third film, or maybe they talk about in the commentaries or whatever. But I thought it was really interesting. And like we said before, Guy Rolfe is fantastic in this one. He makes an excellent Toulon. You can almost imagine him as a younger William Hickey in a way.
He does, yeah. And I thought he did he had to like actually for the first time really give okay, so yeah, I mean you can argue in the second one obviously Toulon, but he was very like this kind of like evil, mysterious kind of character in the second with not a lot of emotion, in the second one. This is the first time you actually have to see an extended sequence of Toulon with like as a full-fleshed character. Mm-hmm. And I thought Guy Rolfe did an amazing job at that. I mean, he did like, you felt for him, and like you could see like, like his sequences with Sarah Douglas in the beginning were, like these touching sequences, and he had this warm heart, you could tell, and then like you could see what drove him to really getting to possibly being what he was in the second one. It's like, and then actually it's what's great is it explains why he was so obsessed with finding Elsa in the second one. So
that's right. Yeah, that's one thing that I think when I was watching the second one, I took it at face value that he was obsessed with Elsa. But watching 3, you get the whole backstory. I thought that was wonderful. It made me really appreciate what he was doing in 2 even more.
Right, which is what's so amazing about this series, that it was like it was the perfect time for a prequel. And it's like they know, it's almost like, if you extended it together, 2 and 3 together, it would actually kind of like, it'd make a really good story. I mean, the tone's different. Definitely the tone is different in the 2 and 3, which would be noticeably different. But this one is like almost like a good, almost like a wartime epic Puppet Master movie, which is really kind of interesting. Like I love those kind of like those movies where like the revenge against the Nazis kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like I felt like we were like one step away from Brad Pitt coming out with Eli Roth, the Bear Jew.
Bear Jew, which makes me laugh every time I hear it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh, Inglorious. Speaking of Inglorious,
remember my nickname is we go as the Beer Jew now. Right?
The Beer Jew. That's right. Yeah. Going on one of our famous tangents. So Inglourious Bastards was one of those movies that the first time I watched it, I was completely not blown away at all and didn't think much of it. And I ended up going over to my buddy Scott's house, and we were looking for something to watch. One of those afternoons where, hey, let's just watch a movie, and let's see what's on Netflix. And that was there, and he said, "Oh, it's a Quentin Tarantino I've never seen." I was like, "Oh, I've seen it. It's all right. I mean, I don't think much of it." So we turned it on, and it was like a light bulb clicked, and I loved every minute of it.
Oh my god, it's one of my favorite movies. I love
it's one, yeah, and now it's
time.
like now I've watched it like 5 or 6 times. Like I absolutely love it. So it's one of those. Yeah, it's so weird when you watch a movie like that just doesn't grab you at all. Another one was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Watched that one the first time, didn't care a bit for it, and one day just happened to watch it again and absolutely loved it. Now it's like one of my favorite movies. I don't get it. I don't know how that happens, but sometimes it takes a second viewing to have everything fall in place. But
Glorious Bastards are great. There's another one I quote all the time. Like I go, wait for the cream. Because I mean, come on, talk about like one of the best performances on film.
Oh yeah!
Oh my God, Christoph Waltz in that. I mean, he's so great in Django Unchained too, but in this, oh my God, he's just like every line he says cracks me up in this thing. Like, and it's not supposed to be funny, but it's
he's not, and he's super scary. If I ever saw him on the street, I would think he's a real Nazi. Like that's how. Convincing he was in that role.
Yeah, and of course, I don't know if you've ever seen him. Did you ever see Big Eyes?
No, I wanted to see.
Oh my God, because he's got like the line of his career in that movie. You have to say, I want you to say, I won't say the line yet until you see the movie, and you see if you can pick out. Just knowing me the way you do, Tim, watch Big Eyes when you get a chance, and keep an eye on Christoph Waltz's lines. And there's one line he says in there, and I guarantee you're gonna realize what the one that I always crack up in a quote.
Okay.
And it's funny. But yeah, no, but like that one too, it's but like Inglourious Basterds is just such a brilliant movie. Like there's so many sequences in that movie that are great. But yeah, so again, going back from that's, those it's like, I feel like it's that kind of like style, like where they like a version of the history you may not have seen, or didn't, didn't go to exist or went a different way, because like, I mean, you can imagine you're looking in a full-on history book and you just like all of a sudden see a picture of 6-shooter, like it's like it's not gonna be there, but it's like it's a history you kind of wish had like a variant there, you kind of wish that happened. But yeah, so I mean, and that's what I loved about it. So I already like was roped into the movie for that plot wise alone. And if you think about it, the plot to the basic core plot of, your movie starts out, tragedy happens, and the rest of the movie, the character seeks his revenge. But yet, it's so well done that you don't like, you even though you see it right in front of you, it's all going on, and you know what's going to happen. It doesn't like seem so simple because it seems so good. And I just have, this was my favorite so far. This third one was my favorite, just for all these different reasons that I was kind of mentioning. And 6-shooter in it is great. The kid he was also the kid in he was in one of the Amityvilles that I was laughing at.
Oh really?
The kid in it, because he's so dramatic looking, and he's 21 years old when he played that character, that kid. And what was he supposed to be in this, like 10, 11?
I know, yeah.
He tragically passed away around like 50 years old. He had some kind of an issue, I guess that stunted his growth at like 15 or something. Or something
really?
Like that. That's why he was, and like he was in Star Trek later on. But yeah, he was really good in this, and that added a whole nother element too, where you kind of saw like the parental love of the puppets mixed with how he kind of like took this kid under his wing too.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot in this one that you wouldn't expect in a movie. Literally, if you think about it, about like puppets killing Nazis, but
of the first 3, it's got like you said, it's got by far the simplest plot. It really is this puppet killing Nazis. It is literally Toulon's Revenge. I mean, it's right there in the title. The entire movie is right there in the title, and yet somehow, like you said, it rises way above that simple premise. So yeah, super. I really like this one. I'm struggling to put it over 2 though, because I'm so in love with the Toulon character from 2 that and the creepiness of the mannequins and all that I'm having trouble putting 3 over 2. But we'll see when everything washes out. We'll see where it lands. But this was still an excellent sequel, and definitely I thought better than the first one.
Yeah, like right now, if I had to pick, I'd literally go 3, 2, 1. And you know, and like it's just a bit over too. It's just, to me, they're building on it so well. Like it was, you know, whether they had this scoped out in the beginning or they kind of made it up as they went along with the way they went it. I don't know. I think, you know what it is? I think because I did love the Toulon character in the second one so much that he got like his real like starring role in this movie, where it was like his movie. I think that's what kind of pushes it over up past 2 just a little bit. Even though I think obviously he was a creepier. The version of him in 2 was so bizarre and so creepy that I loved it, but that like it kind of solidified why I love 2 so much. But I think 3, because Toulon just as the character and, you know, Guy Rawl's performance of him was so good that I just loved it. You know, and of course the Nazi plot line going on in it is just really was such a good plot line to begin with. So the fact that instead of like, you know, you replace like, you know, Brad Pitt and Eli Roth with puppets, essentially.
That's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but and I loved every second of it. It's great. It's great. One more thing with the one other thing from Glorious Bastards, real quick, as a sidestep. Like even though he's such a small part, I love Mike Myers in it when he's like, "Mrs. von Hammersmark." So that's another line I'd like to say in that movie too.
Movie.
But
so that's the first 3 Puppet Master movies, and they are all really, really good. I was so pleased because we're inevitably going to get to the bad sequels. You know, I know that going forward. I know there's some in here that aren't that great. You've already seen one of them, which is the Demonic Toys.
It's funny. Some people love that one, and I just don't get it. Maybe because they saw it when they did, but I tell you, when you watch the first 3, and then you see this one, because I watched it out of order just because out of convenience. I just watched this one now while I could. I don't know if it'll, you know, we're going to discuss it when it comes in its proper place, but I felt it was okay because technically it's not canon. It's not a Charles Band one, really, and it was a sci-fi version of it, you know, one of those. So I feel it's okay, but like, I think, you know, compared to these 3, it's like it's I don't know. It just, to me, it's just, I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous, kind of a thing. It's like, I mean, even though the puppets are really cool in this one and they're featured, you know, the same puppets you love in it, and they do the same things you love all the time. It's the story around it that's stupid in that one to me.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know. It probably, and you know, I will say the one thing about it before we'll get into it more than is at least they kind of keep the Toulon mythology going through that movie, even though it's a kind of a disaster. But
well, we'll see when we get there. I'm gonna hold off because I've got to watch 4, 5, and 6 for our next.
Yeah, I know. I
gotta squeeze those in.
I can't wait to start 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah,
they're the next batch. Actually, yeah, no, it's 4, 5, and 6, and then it's 7, 8, 9, and this one, and that one, the Demonic Toys one, and then we finish off with the rest. But
all right, so Brian, what did you have for our beer pairing for the Puppet Master first?
I found one. Yeah, I found one, Tim. That's right around your area, of course, and we've been to this brewery together, actually.
That's right.
And of course, Julie fell in love with one of their favorite beers, Clapback, and she still thinks she ranks that as her number 1 beer. That's her favorite beer she's ever had. She said
that's insane. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and she's great. I mean, she still loves Captain's Daughter, stuff like that. But yeah, but anyway, it's New Anthem Beer Project, which there's 2 locations actually in Wilmington. I don't remember which one we went to, but whatever it is, we stopped there that time. We had a couple of beers, and we've had them, and they're really big in all the bars in Wilmington, which is nice. They got a good presence in every bar we went into. In fact, that's when we had Clapback. Remember, we didn't even have it at the brewery. We had it at the couple of the bars we went to.
That's right. Yeah.
Throughout the weekend. And by the way, I might as well mention, even though when this airs, it'll be a day later. But of course, big birthday wish to your brother Kev, who's been on the show multiple times.
Yeah.
So we got to give him a big birthday shout out. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. But anyway, yeah. So this one is New Anthem Beer Project, 6%, and it's called No Strings, which is perfect because a couple times throughout this series, people have said, "Oh my God, the puppets are moving on themselves. They're moving on themselves." And like, you know, there was this like where there should have been a marionette string or something. There wasn't. And you know, if you think about it, what makes them still a puppet, really? It's like there are no strings, there's no hand, but whatever. Still, I don't know the true definition. What was the actual like Merriam-Webster dictionary of a puppet anymore? Anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm joking. But yeah, so no strings is a perfect thing because they did a lot of times. Like people have commented throughout the movie that, oh my god, these puppets are moving by themselves. But yeah, so, and this one has a New World Cream Ale. I didn't really get a big description, but I found something on Beer Advocate. So it said, New World Cream Ale, pale as heck, still easy at 5.5%, Pils malt, rice, sterling hops.
I've never had anything bad from New Anthem. They make some fantastic
everything
beers.
we tried that day was amazing.
One of my favorite local breweries, along with Edward Teach, and I'm always every now and again I'm checking their website for clapback to see if I can get one to order for Julie, but they have so many beers.
Yeah,
and
I think they're like 6 Point, where they have certain ones that I think they have all year round, but then there's certain ones that only are seasonal. Come around different times.
And it's so hard to find it. Every time I look, they even have a site that shows not only what they're selling now, but what their upcoming beers are by week. And I have not seen it on there in forever. And and even when I say by week, I mean they're like advertising these things like 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And even then, I'm still seeing beers I've never seen before. And I'm like, good gracious, like how many freaking varieties do you guys have?
I'll tell you, I hope they bring Clapback back though, because really was just such a solid beer. Oh my god, that is like, I mean, and for Julie to come to like she went back with Olivia. Remember they went back when we took the kids, right? We took the kids to that museum,
right? Yeah, and Julie's like, this is not like somebody that's had like I've had Corona and I've had and I've had this other beer.
Julie's an IPA.
She's had
to the highest degree.
Yeah, and I'm not talking like standard grocery store IPAs. Like Julie's had some of the best IPAs in the country, so she knows what she's talking about. For her to say this one was one of her favorites, that's high praise. Yeah,
and she knocks down like some of the beers. Like she's been knocking down some of the beers that like we like. She's even saying like, Sierra Nevada, I'm putting it down. That's not even she doesn't even like have that on the house beer level anymore. She's like fed up with it.
She's already like degraded it below house beer level.
Yeah, so it's down. And I'm like, but I like some of them. I like that Bigfoot one that you and I like. But yeah, she's like, nope, that's.
I don't know. I mean, Sierra Nevada for me might be going into that territory. Because the only time I can remember buying it is when they do their really rare seasonals.
Yes, that's what. Well, no, but they used to have a really there's some of their IPAs were solid, back in the day. And then when they do that beer camp.
Beer camp, that's what I was talking about. That's the one. That's the one time a year I'll buy it. Yeah,
but they definitely. I think they've been. I don't know. I think they got mass produced. Did they get bought out by one of the big companies?
Oh yeah, they're owned by one of the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's when that happened. Same thing what happened when Anheuser-Busch took over Goose Island, which had a really good solid IPA.
Oh, Goose Island used to be really good. Yeah.
They're not anymore. Try one again next time, and you're gonna be like, it's like I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it's once they've now gotten that corporate sponsor, they are allowed to. I mean, if you think about it, like there's like your favorite types of beers, they're usually pretty still like that really like craft beer mentality where they're not. Yeah, they may get around distribution wise because they're so popular. But as long as they still stay to their roots, they're always pretty solid. Like New Anthem, I think will always be that way. The one I want to try more of, because I only got that one. I know you love it. That is Edward Teach. I only got to try one of them when I was there.
I love Edward Teach.
And Wicked Weed, I love. So
Edward Teach. I don't know how other people think about it. But to me, it's like one of my favorite local beers, and they have a much narrower variety. Like their stuff, they make some that are like you always get. They have a really good peach wheat that Olivia likes because she doesn't like IPAs. The peach wheat is really, really good, especially if you're just wanting like a normal, like a session beer. And then my favorite is their IPA. That's like my go-to. Like if I'm at the store and I don't know what I want, I'll just grab that because I know I'm gonna love that one every time. So,
they kind of do. It's those styles, those kind of breweries like that. Like those are the ones that I think will always kind of stay strong. It's like I mean I like the one that like the Gray Sale one. Like their times they'll distribute here. They're at Rhode Island. They'll distribute to like our place near us. We go to the Total Wine. We'll go to get a lot of beer. But there's times you go there, not one Gray Sale because they're so popular. So they only get like a set delivery time. So when they come in, it's like, Julie usually tries to stock up on her favorites, like Captain's Daughter and Little Sister. But that's a brewery we actually we've been to a couple times. It's one of the best breweries to ever visit in Rhode Island. Just that whole little area it's in, and there's a little town nearby. You go and get some food afterwards. But even then, it's like the brewery itself is in like. It's like the main brewery is in this like kind of garage building where you can get like growlers and stuff to go. But then like the regular tasting room is in a colonial house with a backyard that you hang out in with an outdoor pizza oven. So it's like it's this epic brewery. Actually, my brother came back from there a couple of weeks ago at this point. Hey, actually, one of the things he got me these really nice glasses from Gray Sale. Those good IPA glasses. So I'm really psyched about that. But yeah, we could go off forever on a beer thing. I swear one time we just need to do a beer episode, like a beer
total beer episode. Well,
we'll just do a whole big tasting.
Hopefully you guys will be able to come down at some point back to Wilmington and we can hit all the local breweries again. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely have to do this, especially if we but if we after like obviously once we get through Horror Nights this year and stuff like that, like next year we'll have more vacation time because this because of COVID we lost that year, so we're like we're spending like 2 weeks in California at the end of the year, so it's like our vacation time was kind of like really like tighter this year because it was like literally had the 1 week in California already, and then we're gonna have 2 more weeks at the end of the year. That's basically my main vacation time. I have like some floaters and little extra days that of course we put off for Horror Nights. And so, little trips were a little harder to get, but next year definitely we'll make it down next. We definitely I loved Wilmington. I loved everything about it. Of course seeing you guys is the main draw, but it's fun. There's a lot of stuff for us all to do.
yeah, it's a great town. All right, guys, so we will see you back here next week for Puppet Master 4, 5, and 6. So will the franchise keep getting better? I doubt it, but we'll hope so. We'll still remain optimistic.
Yes, but I think we will know, but in not too long into the future. See what I did there?
Yeah, I like that. A
little bit of a stretch. Yeah. And
right,
there
guys.
Goes our Patreon. Okay.
Yeah. Oh well. Womp womp. All right. Again, apologies for any of the audio issues. We're not going to edit this episode. We're just going to release it as is. So you get one of our rare raw and uncut episodes. If you hear some weird audio or my kids coming in the background or
and
whatever,
I think we over talked a bunch of times. Usually Tim can clean up, might not be.
Yeah, usually I clean up the over talking. Yeah, but
yeah.
All right, well, yeah, you guys bear with us. We'll get settled back in at some point. So
yes, we just we didn't want to delay this episode. That's really the key. We wanted to get it out.
Yeah. So. All right, guys, y'all are the best. Take care, and we'll see you back here next week.
See you later.